think that's for the TDOT. The state is,
We call the meeting to order of the Portland City Council. It's our first meeting of the month of July, starting a new fiscal year, and so we're happy to have everyone here with us tonight, and hope you all had a good 4th of July. We're fortunate to have with us tonight Brother Victor Creasy from Halltown General Baptist Church, so I'd ask you to stand at this time.
Thank you, Mayor, for allowing me to come. And you know, anytime we have any kind of meeting, especially doing business of our community, we surely need the Lord to reside over that. And so would you bow with me as we pray? Father God, we come to you and we thank you, Lord, for the privilege of life that we have. Thank you, Lord, for this community. Thank you, Lord, for our freedom that we are able to share here in this country. For those men and women that gave their lives, we want to say thank you. And Father, tonight I pray that as this meeting is called to order, and God, all that's the business that's done here tonight, I pray, God, that you'd give guidance and wisdom. Lord, that you'd give the insight to the leaders that they need, Father, to be able to lead this community in a direction that be pleasing to you. And Father, we pray for the Menace family, Lord, as we know they're struggling, Lord, with sickness. And so, God, I pray that you might just grant healing, that you'd just put your hand there and help them and give them comfort and a peace in this time of need in their lives, Father. We thank you, Lord, for this time that you've given us, Father, that we can take care of the business. And God, I pray that it would be in accordance to your will. And we ask all this in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Appreciate you coming and all you do for our community. Roll call, Ms. King.
Alderman Bratton.
Here.
Alderman Callis.
Here.
Alderman Harvey.
Here.
Alderman Jennings.
Here.
Vice Chairman Dell.
Here.
Alderman Menace. Alderman White.
Okay, thank you. Alderman White let us know last month he would not be here. Then, as Brother Creasy referred to, let's keep the Menace family, Melvin and Nadine, in our prayers and thoughts, because they're really going through some difficult times right now. Next, we have agenda approval of minutes of June the 9th and 16th council meetings. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
We have a second.
Second.
Is there any comments, questions, deletions, or additions to the minutes? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Next, we need approval of the agenda. I do have one change, so we have a motion to get it on the floor.
So moved.
We have a second.
Second.
We want to, item under Public Works 14-83, we want to defer that to the next meeting. Needs to be a little bit more work done on that. That was the realtor's fee for home inspection. And then also, I want to add, not really an action item, but item at the end of the agenda. We did receive some information, I think it was Thursday or Wednesday, from Equalization Board of the State of Tennessee about tax rates and so forth. So we just want to have a discussion, kind of bring you up to date on what we know at this time. Does anyone else have anything they'd like to add or change to the agenda? All in favor with the agenda with these items, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, agenda carries. We have 3 public hearings on our agenda for tonight, and these public hearings will be for these 3 ordinances only. Before we get started, I do want to, on the first one is dealing with our, actually the third one is dealing with our purchasing ordinance. So I'll let Doug talk about that just a little bit, and then we will start the public hearings.
Okay. Of course, we had the first reading on the purchasing policy that would be for second reading tonight, and there was a few adjustments, changes, additions that we put into this to, and this was based on conversations with MTAS and trying to make sure the conformity and the flexibility was built into it. So I have passed it out to you for discussion later when we get into the vote on this, but the mayor felt like it would be appropriate for me to discuss this before we had the public hearing on, in case anybody wanted to discuss it. But really the main thrust of this is relating to the waiver of competitive bidding process. which is item or section 19 of this policy. And what we have incorporated in it is the flexibility of utilization of what they call piggybacking, which means if another city has already did a bid process on a similar item, that you can piggyback off that. That one was added in here so that you don't have to go through separate bidding when you have a situation where it's already been done. Also, a major one was in the area of utilizing what they call purchasing groups or associations, that we can actually, if they are approved through the state, we can actually buy off those contracts without bidding also. Then it becomes more of a request for proposal type situation where we're evaluating not just on price, but on the specifications that we're looking for more specifically. So, and this will come into play when we talk about the jet vac truck at some point in time. But we added those particular items in it. They are TCA items, TCA being the Tennessee Code Annotated, specific sections for cooperative purchasing agreements and joint and multi-party agreements, and that's what I was really discussing here. But those are through the TCA procedures that are incorporated in the most purchasing policies at this point. So those have been added to this, along with some refinements on documentation requirements and a few things like that, to try to make sure that we do not get ourselves into a situation of having some ambiguity in some areas and stuff. So those things have been put into it since the first reading. I've basically, on your copy, have highlighted them in yellow so that you can quick reference them to see what's in there. But they should strengthen the policy and make it a very workable policy for us. So, if you've got any questions on it, of course, like I said, this is public hearing, and anybody speaks to it, I'll be glad to address questions on it there too.
Okay, we'll start the public hearings, and if anyone wants to speak, if they're on these specific items, later on will be a chance for you to speak on any other item on the agenda. The first is ordinance 14-19. It's an ordinance to amend the zoning map of the city of Portland for residents at Highway 31W 5711, property of Joel Farah, be going from residential to general commercial service district. Does anyone wish to make a comment on this rezoning? Okay, next be ordinance 14-20. It's ordinance to amend zoning ordinance 387 of Portland Municipal Code, and this is for the airport concerning height restrictions. Does anyone wish to make a comment on this ordinance? Okay, if not, we'll go to ordinance 14-21, and this is an ordinance establishing a purchasing policy for the city of Portland. Anyone wish to make a comment on this ordinance? Okay, if not, the public hearings is closed. Next, council, you have your reports. Do we have a motion to approve the reports?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
See any comments or questions on the reports? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Next, we have communication from mayor and alderman. Does any of the aldermen wish to say anything to the public at this time? Okay, if not, just hope everyone had a good 4th of July holiday. I think the weather was very nice. Kind of cool at nights. Kind of enjoyed that. So I'm sure we'll pay for it here in the very near future with some very hot weather. So. All right, next we have public recognition. This is time if anyone in the audience would like to speak to the council on an item on the agenda, you may do so at this time. Does anyone wish to speak to the council tonight? Okay, if not, then we'll go to other business. First item on the agenda tonight is something that seems to be happening quite often, but it's fortunate. This will be resolution 14-86, and I will read this resolution, then we'll vote on it. It's for Mr. Paul Allen West, and then we'll present it to the family after we read on it and vote on it. It's a resolution to plant a two-pilot tree in Richland Park as a memorial to former Portland Alderman Paul Allen West. March 8th, 1918 to June the 9th, 2014. Whereas the City of Portland grieves the loss of former Alderman Paul Allen West. Whereas Paul Allen West was born to Brown and Hattie Mae Bradley West on March 18, 1918 in Portland, where he lived his entire life, married Christine Lane in 1943, and together they had 2 children, Sam and Al. At the time of his passing, there were 5 grandchildren and 11 great-grandchildren in the family. Whereas Paul Allen was a lifelong member of the Portland Church of Christ, served the community as a Boy Scout master, and a charter member of the Lions Club, served Portland as a volunteer firefighter from 1944 to 1972, co-owned a local business called the Appliance and Electric Company, before his job as a state of Tennessee electrical inspector for many years up to retirement. Whereas the City of Portland was fortunate to have Paul Allen West serve as an alderman from 1961 to 1965, and then from 1967 to 1969. And now therefore be resolved by the Mayor, Board of Aldermen, and the City of Portland that a tulip poplar tree shall be planted at Richland Park, along with a plaque in memory of former Alderman Paul Allen West. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We'll ask the family to come forward and present you with this resolution. Sam and I will present you with the resolution. I Paul Allen West. So, I know we all knew Paul Allen, and of course at the time he was serving, I don't think this is the first time in many of these that none of us have served with him. So, but I do remember him back when he was serving. I guess the city business was not my concern at that time. It's still in school, so but I know everyone is great, and I know he's a great friend and a great person in the community. We're fortunate that he served the city of Portland in many ways, a firefighter, a business owner, and just a lot of different ways. A great supporter of sports, and you know how he was. How hard you were trying to do this. He did a lot of it, which was good for us. But, we're glad to do this, and also the fact that we put at the park, and we just thank you for the service of the father. Around. The council would say anything?
I didn't know his name was Paul Lennon. I thought it was P.A.
You know, as Brian reminded me, we all have trouble with some words. I don't know why I have a problem with that tree name. We may need to do oak to make it better. But no, we're thankful for all the people that have served us in the past, and Paul Allen was a true citizen of Portland, and he will be greatly missed. And I think he was, 96, I believe, when he passed away, which was a good long life, and was very active up into just the last year or two, and was very interested in things that happen in this community, and we do appreciate it. Next, we'll go to Planning Commission, Vice Mayor McDowell.
The first item is ordinance number 14-19. This is a second reading. There has been a public hearing, no one spoke. An ordinance to amend the City of Portland, Tennessee zoning map by rezoning an area of property at 5711 Highway 31W, Robertson County, from RS40 to GCS. That's from residential to general commercial service district. Move to approve.
Have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Is there any comments or questions?
Is there public sewer along there? It's not, is it? Oh,
I'm not exactly sure where that.
Is that, as you're going out, is it?
is that them Barrow Chapel, ain't it?
No, I didn't think.
That's what I was thinking. It's out
Because
there.
it's past that last commercial building on the left,
Yeah.
isn't it? So, no, there's not. All right, any other comments or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
The next item is ordinance number 14-20. This is also a second reading, and there was a public hearing with no opposition. An ordinance to amend zoning ordinance number 387, Portland Municipal Airport zoning ordinance. Move to approve. This deals with height restrictions.
Have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Any comments or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
And that's all under planning tonight, Mayor.
All right, thank you, Vice Mayor, appreciate that. Next, Alderman Bratton under Public Works.
Thomas, which one was the southern pipe, the low bid?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Resolution number 14-87, a resolution authorizing the acceptance of the best bid for the water distribution parts for fiscal year 2015. The low bid was Southern Pipe. Southern Pipe. Make a motion to approve.
Have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Any comments or questions? What this is an annual bid that we do for parts for our water distribution, and so we receive 4 bids, and then, like I say, Southern Pipe is the apparent low bidder, and it's several lists of pages of different items that we use throughout the year.
All right. Sometimes I see this on bids, I just want to make sure, without going through that line by line, because they know it better than I do. Even though Southern Pipe has a total bid that's less than the others, has that been gone through to make sure that the things that you use the most of are of a lower price? Because sometimes they can have an overall total that's better, but when you break it down, they may be higher on the item we use the most of, and so they're actually the high bidder at the end of the day.
Yes, sir. I got with Mr. Jimmy Stewart and asked him which one he'd recommend to work with, and he would recommend to work with Southern Pipe. Also, I asked him about the exact same question, and Southern Pipe was still the winner.
Okay.
And they're the lowest bid if you bought one of everything. So it worked out in a lot of ways.
So they are the lowest even on the thing you use the most of.
Yeah, and that varies based on what's going on throughout the system.
I guess hard to predict, I'm sure. Okay, thank you.
Okay, very good question. Any other items? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Item B was deleted prior to the meeting starting. The next item is item C, ordinance 14-22. First reading is an ordinance for the city of Portland to enter into a contract with the Tennessee Department of Transportation for relocation of water lines within the proposed I-65 exchange construction. Make a motion to approve. Get it on the floor. I think the mayor's got more information about this.
Have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
What this is, we have at the I-65 interchange, we have 3 utilities there, gas, water, and wastewater, sewer. We've already passed the one for gas. We have before us tonight this one and one coming up. The estimated cost to relocate the water lines in that area would be $1,747,092.69. This is under their Title 86, and it is 100% reimbursable back to the city of Portland. But we have to approve a contract with the state of Tennessee to do this, and they will handle the bid, the contractor, and all. But we have to provide the engineering, which those funds will be reimbursed back to the city also, and that's part of this amount. So this will be the first reading to approve the amount to get our water relocated for that project.
What's it actually going to cost us out of our accounts before we're reimbursed?
Total engineering for water and sewer, I think, was a little over $100,000.
Is it something that's going to affect our books very bad if that's gone long before they reimburse it? Okay.
And they're pretty good about, once we sign the contracts, about getting it on back. TDOT does a fairly decent job of getting it back. Any other comments or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Item D is 14-23. First reading, very similar. So ordinance for the city of Portland to enter into a contract with the Tennessee Department of Transportation for relocation of sewers within the proposed I-65 exchange construction. And I think the same thing applies here, Mayor.
Right.
Okay. So I make a motion to approve.
Have a motion, we have a second.
Second.
Yeah, this is same for the sewer relocation. There was a total estimated amount of $1,158,952, and which also, again, will be 100% reimbursable back to the city, or will be paid through TDOT for this to be done. Also, I know at the last meeting that there was some talk of some other sewer work possibly be done on TGT Road and 31W. We still have not heard back from the state yet on how that will go. That will be separate from this here. This is not involved, a part of that there. So we've not heard back from the state yet on how they want to handle that with those properties there.
That's a huge project, relocating those lines like that. Is there any big interruption in service while they do that, or?
Not supposed to be. It's supposed to be as done.
Is this gonna be done at the same time as the water?
Yes.
So all this $3 million will be gone at the same time, I guess?
Now, all we will be paying out of our pocket is the
The engineering
engineering.
part of it.
But once we sign a contract, they will bid the process, pay the contract and all that. So all we will be out is for the pre-engineering to be done.
It just says reimbursable. I thought you were saying that we would actually have to pay that and then wait to be reimbursed on it.
They word the contract that way because you can do it two ways. We've always chose to let the state, we do the engineering, what they want us to do. Then we let the state bid it and they do it as part of their contract. We can do it and they reimburse us, but if you delay them any, then you chance of not being reimbursed.
Right.
So this is the safe way to do that.
What size are the sewer lines there? Are they changed as they go up through there? What's the size of the sewer line in
I
that
think
area?
there's 6 or 8 up there, down 109, that's,
Yeah, the ones that we're gonna be moving, are we looking to increase that capacity at all in that area? Any like we did on 109?
I don't, are you asking about, are we gonna do betterment?
Yeah, at all, just gonna leave it, okay.
Well,
A little bit, but you're not really allowed to.
when we laid that out, we looked at future expansion in those areas. And so whenever, as far as for sewer, with water and with gas, well, we got with the designer and sat down and laid every bit of that out with forethought as to what we think will happen in the area and where the growth would be. And so though we did not do any betterment, we went back with line sizes that had the capacity to handle additional loading and not overload the system as far as the sewer or too much demand for water. But we also allowed us some easy connections. If sewer went down another side of the interchange, say we got a manhole over there ready, and you stub out to where we got to do is just pick it up and lay it rather than to bore under the interchange, but none of it was considered betterment.
And actually, we, back on water, we worked hard and actually they're going to relay a line, actually going to give us the way that it was designed, some better flows and so forth to increase some pressures out in that area. So in a sense, we're getting some betterment, but not necessarily in the pipe size. Any other comments or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, anything, Alderman Bratton?
I think that concludes Public Works, Mayor.
Okay. Next, we have, in Parks, you want to take that, Mike?
Yeah. Resolution number 14-88, a resolution to hire a full-time parts maintenance employee for the city of Portland. And I believe the gentleman is here with us tonight, and it's Trent. Yes. All right, I move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any comments or questions?
It was recommended by Parks Committee earlier today. He's got extensive knowledge on the equipment that they do. Comes recommended.
All right. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Welcome aboard. Glad to have you.
Congratulations.
All right, can we have a public safety item? Do you have? You want to-
Mhm. Resolution number 14-89.
It's all right.
I'm sorry, you want to
Yeah,
take
I'm
care of
sorry.
it?
I've got the name here, unless you
You
want
wanna
to
do it? Go ahead.
Go ahead. All right, he's chairman, and I just had gotten used to
That's
looking
fine.
at Mike. Sorry about that, Vice Mayor.
All right. He's better speaker than I am, preacher. Resolution number 14-89, it's a resolution requesting approval of the best RFP for the design and construction for the proposed new fire hall. And the resolution that y'all have is blank, but Chief West has gone extensively through the people that submitted proposals back, and he has recommended Goodwin, Mills, and Kaywood for the project. And if y'all wanted to explain why he can, I'm sure, but if you give us pretty extensive recommendation in public safety about it, it made sense why he chose them.
Public Safety made this recommendation.
Yes, sir.
Make a motion to approve.
Move to second.
I have a motion and a second. Any comments or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, anything else? Vice
No,
Mayor?
sir, that's all under public safety.
Next, under legislative, we have several items. Ordinance 14-21, the second reading. The ordinance establishing and adopting a purchasing policy. Do we have a motion, get it on the floor?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any comments or questions? I
Just
think we-
briefly, Doug, you know, you've been listening to me talk about this heavy equipment contract
Yes.
and that proposal. Would this affect that in any way, or will have, won't affect it?
Should
now?
not affect it, no.
Okay, all right, thank you.
No, really, and I'll just comment on this, and like I said, I highlighted in yellow, and what we tried to do in here was, and based on their recommendations, so that there would clear up any confusion at any point in time. You know, Section 3, we started with explaining the 40% limitation a little bit under the general, so that instead of just putting the 6,000 limit in with a 15, understanding that it is a 40% lower limit. A couple places, like I said, we went through that earlier about the competitive bidding process, building in all the things that are included in the TCA at this point that they allow you to do to give us as much flexibility as possible too, which again will reduce having to do sealed bids and advertising in that area. Some other ones are just little comments like this should be documented evidence under 1 so that we make sure that we are following best practices in that area. The award in case of ties thing, we, you know, the criteria were in there, we just referred to them. You know, other than that, most everything else followed along. One area I will, I guess, comment on in the back was the employee participation disposal of surplus property. We did add the comment at the bottom, additionally, no city employees allowed to bid in any manner on items that have been involved in, if they have been involved in the confiscation and/or determination of surplus property, to make sure that somebody would not be allowed to make a, like if I made a decision on surplus property and then I turn around and bid on it, we want to make sure that it's clear that that cannot be done. So we added that language into it too. And like I said, I went through MTAS, Ralph Cross specifically. We tried to pick this thing apart as much as possible to make sure that we had all the ambiguity out of it and make sure that it was as flexible as it could be for us. So this is what I present to you tonight.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? I appreciate everybody's work on this. It's been a work in progress for many years, and I think it's very good and very current with state policies, and I think it will be a great benefit to us. None, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Next, Resolution 1490, a resolution to fill an appointment to the Portland Industrial Development Board. We did have an unexpired term we need to serve, so I'm putting before you the name of Philip Brown to serve unexpired time, and his appointment will be to February the 23rd of 2015 next year. So I would ask for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
See any comments or questions?
Who'd you say it was?
Huh?
Who was?
Philip Brown.
Huh?
Philip Brown.
Okay.
And I talked to him, and he seems to be very interested and eager, and he's a businessman here in town, so I think he'll do a very good job. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Next, we have ordinance 14-24, ordinance approving contract between the City of Portland and the Tennessee Housing Development Agency for the Home Program. Have a motion, get it on the floor.
So moved.
Second.
Second. This is a program through the Tennessee Housing Development Agency for a home program repair. This is just the first reading. There will be more information coming about. One major change this year, they will no longer tear a house down and rebuild it. So I think that might help some people feel a little bit better about when we do have the public hearings and so forth to apply for funds. Now, it's always been a fear of some people. So that is one change. And Denise, and then we've got she's also recommending Ms. Raymond, which is next, item or two, to administer the program. So there will be more information come forward. This is just the first step.
Did we ever, did they make any changes this time about homeowners having to vacate their property while it's under construction? You know, that's been.
I am not for sure. That's something we'll need to ask and find out. I
It'll-
can't
It'll
say for that.
it'll probably depend on if there's any asbestos, and it depends on
What they gotta
scope
do.
of work.
Yeah, you know, well, that's why I was asking if it's changed, because I had spoke with the agency in the past, and some of the work they wanted done, they wanted the homeowners to leave, go to family, go to a hotel, and they don't have the ability to do that. That's one reason why they're using this program. You know, we even talked about carrying it to the extent of, is there a way that, you know, we could participate in that and helping that, because if somebody comes to, let's say an elderly person who has really no place to go, says for you to get this work done, you're gonna have to leave your home for a week or 2 weeks. Well, they don't have that option. And so I was just concerned about that, if, you know, we've taken that into account as part of those monies and helping someone get to that place in their life, so I didn't know.
That's something we can find out. But I know the possible tearing the home down was really a big factor with a lot of people
Yeah.
of not wanting to even, and this may be part of that they consider through all this.
Yeah, I think it will facilitate that, but I think since it's 100% grant, as a community, we would have to, I think, because in most cases, it's a, you know, it's built before 1978, most of these homes were, you have lead paint base. Mayor, you got me tongue-tied now. Lead-based paint issues, and it's just, they won't allow them, it just won't. So if we want to do something in helping someone for 30 days, we need to, you know, I think, and I wouldn't be opposed to that, because I'm like you, a lot of these folks don't have places to go, and,
So that's.
but it's a great program.
Right, yeah. All right, any other comments or questions?
And one other thing, there was some concern about that the contractors was able to spread it out so that they could actually bid, because, you know, I'm not opposed to local contractors not being involved, but I would like to see them involved. But we spread it out. We have companies that follow this program around the state, and they bid all the projects, and because they drag materials from one house to the next, and I'm not opposed to that, but it was a large window, and it was taking quite a bit of time, because they would start 2 or 3, and they would, you know, have 2 or 3 going, and we talked about tightening that up so that maybe they couldn't do that, and it would even help with that situation, people not
Make
being
sure the job is
displaced.
done quickly.
Well, they're not being
compared to-
displaced
That's
for, you know, for a long length of time. If you will, check with that consultant too, Mayor, please.
Okay. All right, any other comments or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Next, resolution 14-25, ordinance 1425. It's first reading ordinance approving a contract between the City of Portland and Cindy Raymond of Raymond and Associates to provide professional services for the home grant.
So moved.
We have a motion, we have a second.
Second.
This is just to hire an administrator to help us keep on toes and to work for us to be sure we do get a lot of these things done for this. See any other comments or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
What will that cost be to us? It didn't say it in the resolution or the ordinance.
It usually run about $10,000,
Yeah, it's.
and it's paid out of the grant.
Out of grant, it's percentage, but we'll have that by the next ordinance, so I'll give our cost.
Do we always do that every?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It was a different firm last year.
Yeah.
I thought Mr. Neese handled that, I'm
No.
sorry.
She
Who was
handles a
it?
lot of the internal, but there's a lot of state paperwork, and so it's just best to have somebody does it all the time.
But it is a different firm. It was another lady that typically handles that, isn't it?
I believe she did it last
Did
time.
she
We
do it
had
last
someone
year?
here, I think 2 years ago.
Okay.
I think this was the same one, I believe, last year. But no, there's just so much involved, so many current regulations, it just flows so much better this way.
Since they're not gonna tear homes down, and I think they allocated up to $25,000 for repairs, I think it's incumbent on all of us, churches, organizations, to try to contact people, because it's difficult. I've tried, because they have to provide financial information, you know, naturally to be a part of this, but we really need our help in contacting people and sitting down and explaining it to them, because unfortunately, people don't trust government as much now as they did at one time. And so if someone that they know personally, you know, that they trust, you know, sit down and talk to them about the program, because we've had years that some of this money, maybe not in the last year, but
Didn't use it all.
Didn't use it all.
Yeah, and it can be difficult because, you know, I had a homeowner maybe 2 years ago now that was just so uneasy about the process that they end up saying no. And, you know, it would have been, you know, repairs done and those things, but it happens, and it's hard to explain all that. We almost need a liaison that can really explain that to the citizens and say, you know, this is what we're doing, trying to help you, but it's tough.
And one of the other big things, even though it's $25,000, they have to agree to encumber their property. So they have to basically sign a note, tying their, and then some of these people's homes have been paid for years, you know,
That's right.
40 years, and they finally got the home paid for. Although the program would relieve that debt over a 5-year period if they live there.
That's right.
That's a challenge too for someone
is,
that's not
it is.
actually ever had a debt on their home, and that's a big deal for some.
Well, just to make sure that they don't get us to come in and repair the home, fix it up, and then turn.
Well, I
around and sell it and
understand,
make a profit
but,
off
yeah,
it.
but
That's
some
the
of
reason
these,
why.
some of
People
our
are
seniors
uneasy about
who've never had a
selling.
debt on their
Right,
house
I
in 30
understand.
years, and they finally got it paid for, and, you know.
And is that,
What do you say again,
is that
boy?
only extended to someone inside the city limits, or is it our planning region?
No, this is only inside the city limits.
Inside the city
Now, I think
limits.
the county, we'll have to double check, but I think they apply for the same thing.
They do.
So I think they have it available if they're outside the city limits of the
Okay.
county also.
The county has the same program because for some reason they have to come to the county planning commission, and we recommend waiving their fees, you know, building permit fees.
Do
So
we do
I know
the-
the county has the
Do
same.
we do the
program.
same thing here on our end as
Yes,
far
we
as
have always.
planning and codes?
I don't think we go through the official process, or do we? I don't know, but at the county, they go through the official process of waiving the building permit fees. And
I don't think we go
Impact
through that
fees.
process of
No, I think
officially
we,
doing it. We
somewhere
just
back,
said-
I'll have to check, I think it was,
Not to slow that project down, but I kind of wish that it did a little bit so we could see that there's progress being used out of that. We could actually recognize the improvements
Well, we
being
can-
made.
it's not a big deal, because it's
No,
a
we-
lot of time, they'll just, you know, ask for the impact fees and for the building permit fee to be waived. So there's adequate time if you, I know that Denise, she's not here, but Denise would be glad to
right.
put that together.
You know, that's like when, y'all remember a few years back when Buzz came to us and was promoting us waiving all the fees after a tornado or
Right.
something
Disaster,
damage and
right.
those types of things. I mean, that's kind of the same of a process
Yeah.
that we go through and do that. So.
Buzz hadn't been up here with a project lately.
I hadn't seen him in a while.
It's election time, he'll probably show up.
Oh, yeah.
All right, thank you. All right, next we go to Resolution 14-91. It's a resolution approving the best bid for sidewalk project, TDOT, certain numbers, federal numbers for says State Route 52, which is actually where the sidewalk project started, but this actually is going to be from the high school down Searcy Lane, down Dye Road to Market Street. And we had bid this before, and then we rejected those bids, and we put it back out. And we had two bids, one from Coates Construction, $128,174, and then Sessions Paving for $148,230. I'd ask for a motion to get it on the floor.
So moved.
Ask for a second.
Second.
Brian, you want to explain this a little bit more details?
Yeah. This project has been going on for a long time. We originally bid it and started from the high school, and our intention was to run it from Searcy down Dial Road, West Market to 52, and 52 all the way back to Sandy. Due to the requirements that are associated with this project through TDOT local programs, it came in well over budget. We then rejected all the bids, tried to cut out about half of it, and kind of took your recommendation as well, Luther, there to see if we could get as much done as possible with the funds that were available. And that kind of just came from starting at the front door of the high school. We'll head south down Searcy. We'll then run along the south side of Dial Road And the state required these to have ADA-approved access points. So we have a approved access point at the high school, and then we had to install what the state refers to as a trailhead on the corner of Market Street and W. Dye. And basically that is a concrete pad with a park bench on it. That's a place for like a bus stop or something like that for the children to get on and off the bus and areas like that. And so we were able to get it approved. We were able to get it within a dollar amount that was reasonable and was within what was allocated for it. And I think we'll get a project that's been sitting on the books for 17 years finally done. So I'm really hopeful that you guys will approve this. It's something I've been working on for about 3 years now, so.
You know what's still amazing to me is that, which that's more sidewalk than you think, but no further than that is from the school up to Market Street there, that's over $120-something thousand to construct sidewalks.
Well, it's also whenever you start dealing, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but whenever you start dealing with a bid process through TDOT and with the TDOT requirements, just because of what the contractors have to go through, that always bumps up the prices. If we had the funds available and could do it ourselves, we could have got that done for much cheaper. But since we did have the grant money there, and there's a limited amount of money as far as, well, it's more than I can afford, but there's not that much according to what the city has involved in it. We're actually getting quite a bit out of it. And if we wanted to move further with it and bring it on down West Market and so forth, it's already been designed. If we can find the funds available to do that, then we can do that and bid it on our own and get out from underneath the TDOT umbrella and probably get it done for a cheaper price.
Does it go out to New 52?
No, sir.
You just turn clear down WB
It goes down WB Dye, and right before it right as it gets to the intersection of West Market, there will be a crosswalk that heads north over WB Dye, and the trailhead, the park bench basically, will sit at the northwest corner of WB Dye and Market Street.
And Luther brings up a good point, and I should know this and I can't place it. Are there sidewalks on 52 up to that point, up to Market Street?
Up to Sandy, they stop at Sandy.
They stop at Sandy.
And that was the intention, was to take them to tie back to the existing sidewalks on Sandy and to run a crosswalk along 52 to tie to, is that Sandy on the other side, is that Strawberry Street?
Strawberry.
But there's an existing sidewalk right over there to tie to that as well.
It just seems like it would make a lot of sense for it to go over to 52 and connect there.
Well, we wanted to take it down 52, and that was our intention the whole time, but with TDOT requirements, whenever you start trying to run a sidewalk right down within the right-of-way, even though the workers would not be in the pavement, it was required to have a lane closure, and then to go through all the precautions of the signs, the barrels, the traffic control plan, having guys out there while they're working, that I think the traffic control plan was around $60,000 just for that section of sidewalk along 52. So that's what I mean, whenever you start getting to these TDOT contracts with the requirements they have, it can make a project a little bit more costly.
All right, any other comments or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. That was a resolution actually approving the bid. Now we, first reading of ordinance 14-26 is an ordinance authorizing the City of Portland to execute a contract between the City of Portland and Coast Construction for this sidewalk project. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Is any comments and questions? Same projects, just now approving the first reading of contract. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Next, we have Resolution 1492. It's a resolution in support of providing Community Development Block Grant Industrial Revolving Loan Funds to support the location of Tennessee College of Applied Technology at 604 South Broadway in Portland.
So moved.
Have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
This is that we actually had talked about this earlier, that we have some funds in a Community Development Block Grant Industrial Revolving Loan Funds. We did check with the state, and it is with their approval that we will be granting $100,000 toward the school here in Portland, be the vocational center. The county has put in $500,000, and then the school system will be doing a lot of the work, and this money will be going toward the capital improvements of that project, and it is getting ready to take off, and here very soon. I don't think they're going to make the deadline maybe this fall now, but hopefully by the winter there will be classes there, and that is our goal, to get going as quick as possible. And this will be under the umbrella of the Nashville School of Applied Technology, which is the Nashville Tech School there on
White Bridge.
Road. So I think it is very excited about that. They have a lot of different classes, opportunities. I think will be great for our community.
I think it's, we probably hadn't really talked about it enough, to be honest with you. It's pretty special.
Right.
To get this back in our community. We closed down the vocational center years ago. We kind of done away with some of this training years ago at night. Our country went through a spell where everybody needed a 4-year CPA degree. No offense, Doug. And unfortunately,
It's 5, actually, for
five.
CPA.
Unfortunately, not everybody needs that. We need some people with trades. They need to work with their hands, need to build. That's what made our country. That's what we need back. And I think this is wonderful. I appreciate Mayor Anthony Holt and everybody that's been working and finding out some information. We need this in our community. It's going to be pretty special.
And I want to give some thanks to our county commissioners, because it was, for the county to appropriate $500,000, that's pretty strong.
That's
And
right.
I appreciate Billy and Sean Utley in that endeavor.
Right, yeah, and especially on something Billy did a lot of work getting this going, and then Sean was very supportive of it, and on this also. And this is not coming out of general funds; it's coming out of another account, so it's not affecting anything to do with our local tax base. Any other comments or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Next, we have Resolution 14-93. It's a resolution authorizing the City of Portland to participate in the Tennessee Municipal League Risk Management Pool Safety Partners Loss Control Matching Grant.
So moved.
Have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
We're going to, as each year, we have an opportunity to ask for grant monies from the Risk Management Pool, our insurance carrier. And this year, we come up with a program where we're going to ask for computers for training, where our employees can do safety training and have different stations around. And we will get a match up to $2,000 for this. That's what we're going to be asking for this time. Is there any comments or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Next, we have Resolution 14-94. It's a resolution approving the enterprise funds for fiscal year ending 6/30/2015. Do we have a motion to get it on the floor?
So moved.
Second.
Second. We discussed at the last meeting, I think Doug handed out another copy tonight of the enterprise funds. And I guess, has anybody got any questions on this budget?
Let me comment on a couple of things beforehand, and we did make some adjustments to it. Project 2's, in this case, it's not like we did the general fund budget. Items in Project 2, I didn't really have a savings related to them that we could ascertain and put in here. Project 3's, you will see some negatives, because that is where I incorporated, based on the timing of the capital expenditure, the savings associated with it. So I tried to do that for you when you look down this thing. And really, since the last one, we pulled out the small jet vac truck and put in the larger jet vac truck in this, with the associated cost and savings, which there was some associated cost other than the truck itself. So I incorporated all that into it. The page 3, or really the thing you want to look at, is this overall budget for water sewer means we'll have actually cash outlay of about $460,000 reduction in our fund balance, because one of the major items is $150,000 for the sludge boxes that we chose not to do a loan on at this point. That may change when we get to that project, but so with that, we're still showing about a $300,000 reduction in our cash to cover all the projects that are incorporated in here. Even with all that, though, most of that is where we're trying to meet the commissioner's order. There was a hefty amount in there in that. What we feel like, in a lot of our study on this jet vac truck, we feel like we'll have additional savings on it that'll lend to it. So we feel like it's a conservative budget in that we feel like we can beat it in a lot of areas. And specifically, looking at our water loss situation, we really have stepped up some efforts to I guess, reduce the percentages, gain some additional billing, which will, in essence, help us on this overall budget process. I don't know, do you want me to comment on our discussion of the day? Okay. Before I do that, also there's a gas budget in here at the very back. Gas is sitting on about $6 million and probably will be about 4.5 when we finish phase 1 and phase 2. So there's some efforts there too, though, to improve the billing on the metering issue that we've been dealing with, both water and gas, that we feel like will help. The biggest item, I guess, will come, and it's not in this budget, but we are doing a rate study on water and sewer. We had a meeting today. They will be presenting in August at the Legislative and Finance Committee meeting for the August one, the findings. The major area of concern, and I will bring that up first, is a state requirement that we thought, until today, I thought was only SRF related, meaning we have that one SRF loan. We had to meet some obligation to the wastewater board, which basically said we would fund not only the depreciation of the project, but also the debt service, which in essence to me is double counting. There's a large contingent of city finance people and anybody dealing with that understands that they are combining I guess the accounting principles in two different ways there to come up with this. But I thought we would have, and I think I mentioned it at the last meeting, the ability to liquidate the SRF and not have to worry about that. Today we were informed that this is on all debt, and that this is something that the state and local government division of the comptroller's office is interpreting. And what that could mean and will mean, and it will mean it for probably 90% of the either water districts or cities in this state, that there'll have to be significant rate increases to do this. And when I say significant, I'm talking anywhere from 30 to 100%, which seems very irresponsible from what I'm seeing and looking at. But it's based on an interpretation where you're funding not only your debt, but you're also funding the replacement of that, infrastructure. Which means, in other words, when you got to the end of the period there, you'd have enough cash to be able to just go out and buy all your improvements, which we know is unrealistic with the type of infrastructure water and sewer demand. So this is an interpretation through the state and local government. We haven't got the exact name of that individual, haven't spoken with them to try to find out what they're looking at doing. I think our approach is going to be, though, to rally a lot of the finance people from other cities and water districts, and also our representatives. This is going to be an area that I don't think anybody is going to find very popular. It's an interpretation of the law the way they think it should be, but it is against all accounting principles that I've ever studied. And by doing that, they would really detriment our citizens throughout the state. And I don't really think they've thought it through. So we looked at a rate structure that would not necessarily meet that, but would meet our needs in the coming years. And that's what you'll be presented in August. It will not incorporate this other requirement because obviously we're going to fight against that. I think when all the citizens and everybody realizes the impact of this, and our representatives too, there will be a movement to change this particular law or define the interpretation that meets normal accounting practices and procedures to understand this. But we will be coming with a rate adjustment to continue on doing a lot of the projects in here. That is not built into this budget. At this point, looking at a 3 to 4% possible rate adjustment coming in January, but we'll let that presentation explain that to you. We're also looking at between the different structures, meaning residential, commercial, industrial, looking at the rates in there to see if the adjustments need to be done through there, because there are some concerns about percentage differences, so we'll be looking at that also. But I want to inform you of that just because it's not in this budget, but it is something that we will have to address and look at if we're going to continue to meet all the capital that we're going to have to do down the road in the 5-year plan to be able to upgrade all the stuff that we need to.
You know, I just, if we just had to do a system that was $20 million at 4,500 customers over a 10-year period, I mean, that's another $40 a month per customer in their bill to cover that if the state mandates that.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that's a pretty big hit, you know, on monthly to people when they realize all of a sudden, especially if they were doing minimum water users and then all of a sudden don't.
It really makes no sense at all, but the law has been there, it's just this interpretation, and I don't know who the individuals are that interpreted it that way, but they are basically combining accrual accounting and cash basis accounting into one formula, which you can't do. And by doing that, they basically are double counting the cost of it, which in essence, you know, if you did that, you would forego any need for debt, ultimately in the long term. So it doesn't, you know, it doesn't even make common sense to me, because when you're talking the type of infrastructure you have to do water and sewer, there's no way you can do that on a cash basis. And so, you know, there's going to be some battles that are going to come out of this, but after today's meeting, I think Mayor and I haven't really talked about it, but I think both of us got the sense that we're going to have some conversation with representatives about it. Obviously, interpretation of the law and changes to the law and or getting it more exacting so that somebody else isn't left to come up with this interpretation may help this. But you know, if they institute this, and you know, we figure 90% of the cities are going to have impact in it, all the water districts will have impact in it, and ultimately it's not good for the citizens. I mean, doing that to them is basically saying you're going to have to pay up double now, you know, for down the road, and that's just not logical. But we wanted to inform you of that with this, but there will be a proposed rate adjustment coming, and the presentation will be in August so that you can see what we're doing. But it's got a 5-year plan, it's got the debt in it, it's going to show you all that in it. Now, we did incorporate some of this capital of the 5-year plan is incorporated in this budget at this point. So anyway, I wanted you to know and understand that. And again, I followed my own advice after last time. When we're doing a project, we're going to be looking at what is the cost savings associated with that project. When we look at line extensions or areas we're going to go, they're going to have to justify themselves.
That's right.
Just for us to survive water sewer. I mean, you're so heavily leveraged in the water sewer side of things. If you don't take that approach, you know, in 2-3 years we'll be so wound up in it we won't be able to do anything. So we have to be very restrictive on getting benefit back from any dollar that we spend at this point.
You know, we had to make a decision here a few weeks ago about a particular gas line that the cost of it would have took many, many years for the city to ever recoup anything from that, and it was going outside the city limits. And I know that's tough for some citizens that's pretty close to us, but it's hard for us to expend $80,000-$100,000 and then 20 years you're still not even close to.
Yeah, well, we owe it to the other citizens who are on the gas lines to try to do the things that are going to reduce their cost in the long run. So.
And one reason you've not heard until tonight, until we really about what's going on with the state and talking about the double dipping, so to speak, is because the letters have just started going out. The people who turn their budgets in, and they're just now starting to go out. So I'm sure, and we'll be making on TAUD and people like that will be getting on board to try. I mean, basically it's like you're making a car payment, then making another car payment. I mean, basically what they're.
As a
So
savings measure for buying a new
Right.
car later, though the price of the car went up from what it was
Right.
the first time it's
So-
calculated.
So there will be, and we're seeing a lot, I mean, just like we talked about, you know, the way retirement's and all done, those
That's
funds.
right.
And so there's a lot of changes going on in accounting procedures and stuff right now, so.
And I probably owe Mr. Sammy at the SRF an apology because I was pretty hard on him at TML about this particular issue, and then I find out it's not just them, so.
You know, this budget here that we're looking at, and it's customary for us just to pass this resolution, but it's a rate-based budget, so it's really, we just have to file it more, and so since this is basically instituted and we're approving it now, when do we get the jetback truck? When do we get that?
When will we get it?
Yeah.
I'll let Brian handle that one. He has been spearheading this one. The jetback truck is I suppose, when you gentlemen approve it, I think it's being put together right now. If we don't buy it, it's okay, somebody else will buy it, but they have all the things that we'll need for us. Once you gentlemen approve it,
They know what the lead time is on that?
they're gonna give us- and they're
It
gonna
is
give us a
fine.
loaner in the meantime to do our
All right.
lagoons if y'all approve.
Are we getting it painted purple?
Yes.
Yes, actually, yes.
Yes.
And actually, with the one that we feel like is the preferred one because of safety and all that, they have went ahead and placed the order for it, no obligation on our part, so that it will be in line, so that we could minimize the 5 months as much as
Well,
possible, so.
Also, their fiscal year started over July 1, and the price went up around like 10% on the truck. So we communicated with them, they went ahead and ordered it rather than us to be on, and we're still not on the hook for it. He hopes we want it. I told him, we're still talking about it.
It has our features on it.
Yeah, but it has all our features. We've had several meetings with them. We got exactly what we wanted out of it. It's within our budget. And it has been ordered, and we went ahead and ordered it to get it locked in at the 14-year price, not the 15-year price.
And so do we have a couple of employees ready to transfer to that? Or is that something that we're still?
We're working on
on
the
it.
job description and all that right now.
Okay.
And we're trying to get all that defined, and then we will try to have, part of passing this purchasing ordinance, there is a government, like a purchasing company out there where they already have bid a lot of this stuff out, so if we can get
Yeah.
all that tied together, we will try to, hopefully, maybe the next meeting or the next, have something to present to y'all to
Okay.
move forward
The
with.
city of Franklin actually used, and it's incorporated in that multi-jurisdictional contract way of doing it, and it's through a purchasing association. It's actually out of state, but it does meet the requirements, and so that we can just buy it.
And we've gotten a letter, not directly from the state, but we've got a letter from the state saying that they approve this as a, kind of
Acceptable,
like
this is an acceptable bid practice.
Good there.
So, anyway, we've deviated off a little bit in that, but are there any questions specifically that you want to talk about in the water, sewer, and gas area?
If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that wraps up the legislative. We have supervising under airport. Brian, you want to do the end?
Ordinance 1427, first reading, an ordinance approving a contract between Portland Airport Authority and State of Tennessee Department of Transportation Aeronautics Division for maintenance costs for the fiscal year 7/1/2014 through 6/30/2015. Move to approve.
Second.
A motion is second. And what this is a contract between us where we'll get reimbursed 50% up to a certain amount of the maintenance costs.
28,000, and we had to spend 14, and spent 28 to get 14 back. That's a 50/50 maintenance grant that we do every year
Right.
for maintenance, for lights and building, just whatever.
When's the, I know we're off topic here, but when's the building getting tore down?
Soon. They're still getting their paperwork in order because it's federal government and whatever. It's a lot of Buy American, and they have to get all their paperwork. They've got over 60%, and to get a waiver on some of it not to be Buy American, they have to have all that submittal work done, turned into the FAA, has to be approved by them, the state, and it comes back to us.
Well, I know she got your trailer and electrical out there, right?
We've already moved.
Okay.
It's ready to be tore down as soon as they get their paperwork. We've given them the go-ahead to order stuff. We just hadn't started their work days on tearing down and that part of the contract. So I'm gonna say within the next 2 weeks.
Cool.
Y'all know Doug is a grant finding machine.
Oh, he is.
If there's $1 of money out there to find a grant, he'll find it.
Yeah, he
I'm
does
finding
good.
it for everybody.
That's good.
Needs it there.
That's great.
All right, all in favor of the approving the contract, first reading for the maintenance, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Resolution 1495, resolution in support of a grant application to the Tennessee Department of Transportation Aeronautics Division for funding for the creation of a detention pond. Move to approve.
Have a
Second.
motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
What this is out on Airport Road. It's basically, if you remember the Link property, we are having a lot of issues with that pond, whatever out there, a lot of neighbor complaints, people fish when they're not supposed to, algae, just a nuisance, and so Doug has found a grant where we can get engineering work, and Brian's been involved to help take care of that situation out there. And then also, this will be where, at some point, you know, the road to go down Airport Road to go over to Parks Chapel, this will be actually doing some pre-work for that if we ever get the funds to do that at some point, take that out. So I'm very excited about this because we have been getting a lot of citizen complaints in that area.
Are you gonna fence it or something?
It's gonna be a detention pond, you know,
Right.
what it's supposed to be.
So
First
We'll
time.
be
you're gonna
holding.
design it so it doesn't hold water?
We're gonna move it.
Big boy?
We're gonna fill that one in and move it together. There's where Parker's Chapel comes around the side of the runway. It's supposed to tie straight into Airport instead of going around the end of the runway. And if you take that proposed alignment, it will go through where that retention pond is right now. So if you think of that, the retention pond sits right here. We're gonna try to move it over to the west.
Just let me know when you drain it.
You got something in there?
No, there's some nice fish in there.
I think the frog.
I don't know, I just assume this, why do people stand out there and fish all the time?
They like to hold the pole.
No.
I've watched them fishing.
So you're one of them I get
Somewhere in
complaints
there.
on. You're out there late at night when you're not supposed to.
Well, here's the
Lean it
thing.
against the side.
Yeah, but here's the thing that concerns me is that let us know when it's gonna be drained so we can track Mr. Bratton, because if he goes out there at midnight the
Well,
day
he'll be all
before,
wrong.
I'll be concerned that there's something out there that he needs to remove that he put out there 30 years ago.
Yeah, okay. I don't know.
I understand. There's a couple ponds that's gonna be drained around town. I'll keep it up to both of them. I'm too lazy to fish, I think that's what it is.
And let us know, because the next day I'm gonna be over at Mr. Bratton's house for the fish fry.
Right.
That is a 95.5 grant that we
Right.
paid.
What you gonna do with that little small one up there? Is it gonna stay?
Stays. This is to help that one, basically. This was supposed to have been the same thing whenever I wasn't involved at the time we didn't own the property. And they just made it bigger, and every gallon of water goes in there and comes out. And it was supposed to be.
Thank you.
All right, any other comments or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Ordinance 1428, first reading, an ordinance approving the contract between the Portland Airport Authority and the State of Tennessee Department of Transportation Aeronautics Division for a detention pond for Portland Municipal Airport. Move to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Basically, we're doing two things at once tonight. We're applying and contract all of the first night so we can move right on with
I had
it.
to check, I thought I might be reading the same one.
No, it's just, so, it's basically the same project, we're just trying to fast track it on. Any other comments or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
1496, resolution in support of a grant application to the Tennessee Department of Transportation Aeronautics Division for funding for the design and construction of phases 1 and 2 of the airport terminal ramp. Move to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Doug, you want to, real quick?
Okay, that there is, of course, we're building a new terminal, which you're already aware of, and it's taking up part of our ramp. Our ramps needed to be expanded for quite a while, so 95.5 grant, I have money donated to cover our part of it. So it's not gonna cost us anything, it'll be about 200 foot, 400
That's what I'm saying.
of concrete, not paper. Jets, it's sinking up in our pavement out there already,
It's gonna be concrete.
concrete.
And the money has been already.
All right, any other comments or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, Brian, thank you. I think that's all under airport.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Doug.
You've got one item under your alcohol and
Yeah.
beverage.
Alcoholic Beverage Board permit for MAPCO Mart number 7525. I think this is just for MAPCO Express wanting to change the name to MAPCO Mart.
Yeah.
And their company's asked for a new permit to reflect this change of name only. Move to approve.
Second.
Have a motion, have a second. Any comments or questions?
They buy that all over again?
They missed that July 1 deadline though.
Yeah, they did, didn't
Opening they
Yeah.
did. I know it's on the letter, it said the opening will be open July 1.
They must have, did they run into, what did they run into? They run into something out there.
Yeah, they run into some, I know they putting some big rock in today and starting to.
Yeah, they run into
They're
a
about
problem with the ground.
A year and a half late from the first
Right,
deadline.
yeah, when they actually approach. All right, any other comments or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
That's gonna be a nice place to make it done.
Yeah, it will be. We did, I know some of you've seen in the news where Sumner County government and most of the people involved in cities were not terribly happy with our reappraisal process that we had this year and then the outcome of it. I mean, I know everybody wants reappraisals to be lower so they don't pay more taxes, but also what goes along with that is devaluing of property and a lot of other situations that go along. We did get our paperwork from the state today, one day last week. I kind of let Doug go that equalization, and of course, we did pass our budget, we did not pass a property tax rate yet. Doug explained what the rate come in there, but I think we need to hold off. There's a county executive and some other people have been to the state comptroller, asking them to look into the way it was reappraised and so forth. So I think until we know what actually happens on that end, we probably do not need to pass a tax rate. And kind of wait and see what happens there. And I'll kind of let Doug kind of explain our paperwork that we got.
Okay. I'm going to expound on what the mayor said. What's going on with the county executives and the reappraisal is that overall the reappraisal came out about a 3% drop in values when it was expected to be somewhere around 1 to 2% increase. And what that did was, because it dropped, our tax rate actually, the equalization rate went up 3 cents. So from 118 to 121 is what the equalization rate came in. The impact of it and why the county is questioning it, because in the fact that Sumner County has been in a growth mode for the last couple of years, it seems like, and they had already anticipated the increase, which meant your tax rate probably would have been equalized down from 118 in our case. But what it has impact on is our bond rating for the county, which is rather significant. They were actually forecasting to be AAA, which would have been a very good, solid bond rating for us to get funds for the county, not specifically the city. But now it's going to be, if this continues on the way it is, they won't get that revised rating, and it'll still be AA plus, I think was the rating. So it would cost the county significant dollars in financing. That's just one thing. Then the fact that we are showing a devaluation instead of an increase means people that are looking to sell properties and that are really looking at a situation of lower values than they would have expected. So it's a two-edged sword. I mean, a lot of people are saying, yeah, if I got a lower rate, then my taxes are going to go down. But it depends on, of course, the equalization is an overall. So if you got an appraisal that your appraisal went up, and you're going to get a double hit because also the tax rate's going to go up, because on an overall basis, everybody's properties went down. So I don't know the mix between, throughout the county. I know, David, you'd commented, and yours had went up significantly, I think, on some property you had. I saw residentials usually fell a little bit, but commercials were up. And the question is, how fair was that appraisal to begin with? And I don't think they've gotten good satisfaction on that answer, and so that's why they went to the comptroller and to the Division of Property Assessment. Don't know what can be done or will be done. The comptroller's office was concerned, is what we're hearing. So when we discussed that today, we did not want to bring a tax levy in at this point because the possibility of it changing. I would hope within the next couple of weeks that we would hear something on what's going to go on. But really, what we wanted to get out there was, because of the devaluation overall, you had a tax, and it's going to look like a tax rate increase of 3 cents. So it went from 118 to 121, a little over 121, but we have to round it down. So that's what it currently stands at. If the reappraisal was to be redone, I guess is the best way of putting it, I would expect it to go up, which means this rate would come back down, should come back down in our equalization. So at this point, it's sort of in limbo, but it has some far-reaching effects for the county overall, especially when you're looking at the bond rating, because of, you know, that's some serious dollars in interest and stuff that they have to deal with. Plus, when you're looking at it from prospective employers in the county and everything, they're looking for growth areas, and this would be, it makes or gives the appearance of that we're not growing. We're not doing what Rutherford County did or Williamson County did, and you know, my impression of it is that we're, you know, in that particular mode at this point and should see valuations actually go up so that the rate would have fell.
But if we say, if they ask them to do a reassess, how long did it take to do it? How long does it take to do the county? I mean, it don't happen overnight.
No,
And so
it's
what
a
do you-
calculation, and what I understood happened, because they didn't, I always thought when they did an appraisal, a revaluation, they went out and they did test appraisals using the actual appraisers to get some test areas, and then applied a formula to all the properties. From what I understand, they incorporated some value into this formula that went way, you know, back a lot further than what was currently being shown. Now, that's the way I understand it, that they did not actually do test appraisals in this. It was all formula-based. At that point, I haven't seen the calculation. If that's all it takes, it should not be that significant of a time period. It just means cutting off the data at a certain point and applying current market conditions to it. But we don't know.
You know, the smart thing to do, if there is some controversy, just say we're leaving everything the way it was. Give us time to see what's gonna happen next year, and we'll do a reevaluation and see if they were smart, so we're just gonna go back to where we were and be done for a year.
Yeah.
But they're probably not gonna do that.
Well, the two sides at this point are not in good communication on it. I think they tried to, but they don't want to talk to each other a lot about it. So it's going to be left in the hands of the Comptroller's Office and the Division of Assessment. And we do know that that can be a very slow process. So we don't want to go out there and arbitrarily go ahead and set our rate and then turn around and have to amend it down the road. And also our concern will be that we'll probably have tax bills out late again because of this situation. So, you know, it's a couple things that, you know, this being televised, so people may be asking you, why are you going up on my tax rate? Well, it's the equalization. We're not voting to do a tax increase. Equalization-wise, it says that's what we have to do. Secondly is, you know, why are you waiting? Well, we're waiting because we need an answer from the state. So we wanted you to be fully aware of all this information at this time.
Second.
And third.
Oh, thought y'all was
All right,
waiting.
any questions for Doug or anything on that? Does anybody else have anything to bring forward for tonight? Nobody objects, we'll be adjourned.
She needs some of y'all to sign this beer permit.